The Eagles very busy, already picking apart from the Dolphins, who pretty much seems like it's over with Jaelan Phillips going that way. Leger, your thoughts on that trade? Great for both sides.
We knew that they were scouring rosters to try to get some pass rush help. Nolan Smith is a guy that's been banged up, right? We finally saw Jalix Hunt make a step right before the bye, coming and getting after the quarterback, but they needed to add some juice to that outside. And this was genius by Howie Roseman. And you know why it was genius, guys? Because they turned away a third-round pick. But say Jaelan Phillips doesn't re-sign. They get a compensatory pick for him next year. So, like, Howie Roseman, again, chess, not checkers. And he obviously adds to a position of need with a younger guy that has had some injury history, but he's a guy that when he is healthy, he can really, bring some juice and get after the quarterback.
Now, I'll say this, and I'm smiling because if those who have sat in my seat, we all know Howie and how Howie operates.
Correct.
I'll say this. We have heard for weeks now that Jaelan Phillips would be a guy that could potentially be on the move, right? This was even prior to Chris Grier being let go. And so this was a situation for Howie Roseman and the Eagles. They knew that Chris Grier had been removed, and they knew that this team was just looking for something to get them going. And so he pounced, like you said, and he went in for the trade. I have done a deal with Howie near the deadline, 2023, trading Kevin Byard to the Philadelphia Eagles, and was able to get a 5th and a 6th round pick for him at that time. And so these are conversations that were had weeks in advance, and it just so happened to come to fruition right now. But I think this was a good deal for all, and I think you brought up an excellent point just in the terms of if he's not re-signed, they'll get a compensatory pick, whether it's a 3rd, whether it's a 4th in 2027, based off of the deal he signs with whatever team that's not the Eagles.
Yeah, this is an interesting deal. We're still waiting on all the numbers because he's playing on his 5th-year option, $13.2 or something like that, $13.5 million. Because it's midway through the season, you cut that in half, right, Ran? And so he's owed about $7.5 million or so from the Philadelphia Eagles. I had reported last week that any team that was acquiring him, ultimately they were probably going to want the Dolphins to pay down some of that contract. And so then the Dolphins could pay for a higher draft pick. Believe that is what has happened. I don't think the Eagles are going to be taking on the entire freight of his remaining deal for 2025. And so that's why you get the 3rd round pick versus taking his entire contract and getting, of course, a 4th round pick. Brandon Graham's signing did not preclude the Eagles from going after pass rusher. We have been telling you that. They added a corner in Jair Alexander. Who knows if that's going to work out? This is the significant move at the trade deadline for the Philadelphia Eagles, getting Jaelan Phillips, someone who had been on the block for some time, and now our attention is going to turn in Miami to whether they can send off a Bradley Chubb, which would be for much less than Jaelan Phillips, maybe a Matthew Judon. One guy I just don't think is going to be on the move there, Jalen Waddle.
So, Leger, I have to ask, the folks in the newsroom, who are Dolphins fans, were not happy when this trade went down. From your perspective, when you look at it from both sides, what grade would you give this trade?
Well, if you're the Miami Dolphins, you're sellers, obviously, right now, especially after that Thursday night game versus the Ravens. It looks bleak right now in Miami. So you're going to want to get as much draft capital to, try to build this roster up for the future. You're going to be finding a new GM. Most likely you're going to be finding a new head coach as well. So from that perspective, I would say a B+. But to me, the Eagles get an A because of what I talked about earlier. You get a young pass rusher who's going to be motivated, who's going to go from one of the teams that had a bad record to one of the teams that has a potential to go to a Super Bowl. He's going to be motivated that way, and he's a free agent, so he's motivated from that perspective. But because of the compensatory pick, right, even if Howie Roseman doesn't sign him to an extension, it's almost could potentially be a wash. If Jaelan Phillips balls out, signs a deal, and they get a 3rd round pick back, it's almost like how we got him for free almost, right? And JJ brought up a really good point. Miami's going to have to pay some of that down of what his contract is remaining for this year. So to me, that's an A for the Eagles.
For me, I just give it a B. And I think it was a good move by both teams because if you are the Miami Dolphins, you're looking for as many picks in the top 100 as you can get, and they were able to get a 3rd round pick. Now, obviously, if the Eagles keep playing the way they play, that pick will be towards the bottom of the 3rd round. Nonetheless, it'll be a top 100 pick. But if you're the Eagles, I love the talent of Jaelan Phillips. But like you said, is he going to always be available?
Correct.
And that's the key. We don't know. And you talked about him being motivated as a free agent, as a pending free agent. Where's that motivation at this year? If nothing else, you're playing for your bag. And three sacks through as many games as they've played is solid numbers. But I just think in this role that he's going to be in with the Philadelphia Eagles, because I don't know that he's going to be a full-time player, right? I just think it's a B. It's a good deal all the way around. I don't think it's going to be the one that really lift the Philadelphia Eagles.
I will say this. I would think Vic Fangio had to sign off on this. Let's not forget he was the defensive coordinator with Jaelan Phillips for a year down in Miami. So I think you have to think about that as well. There's going to be a specified role for him because he's played in this defense before.
No grade from JJ, but that's okay. We'll tap back in with you on the other side. JJ, did you want to give a grade? No.
No, I mean, no.